On April 10th, 2025, the 262 steam locomotive number 250 arrived at the Grafton and Upton Railroad's North Grafton, Massachusetts shops. 250 last operated at the Wolfboro Railroad in New Hampshire in the 1980s and later made its way to South Carver, Mass. After it sat for a time on the Hobo Railroad. Edaville operated a loop of 2-foot gauge track on cranberry bogs with an amusement park located within its circuit, so this meant 250 didn't have a place to run. With this being the case, the locomotive sat on display alongside other standard gauge equipment, including some cabooses from the Maine Central and the Boston and Maine. Over the past several years, the operation of Edaville has been on and off and was even put up for sale. In 2022, the 75th anniversary weekend brought new life to the park, and one of the original steam locomotives that ran here in the 1940s came back. New operators soon took over, and regular operations started up again. Unfortunately, the railroad was sold earlier this year, and it seems like the new owners won't be continuing to promote the park as a railroad-themed attraction. There is still hope the annual Christmas trains will continue, as that shouldn't conflict with the new owner's plans of using the property to host the King Richard's Fair. Since that event only runs through the fall, I hope events throughout the year continue, but we'll see. There is an auction coming up to sell off some of the unneeded park rides, but 250 is not included. The now former owner of Edaville is also the owner of the Grafton and Upton Railroad, which has an extremely unique success story because most of the line was dormant for about 2 decades but has come back better than ever. A brief history of the GNU is that it has always been an independent short line, never being sold to the much larger New Haven or Boston and Albany lines that interchanged with it. It originally had 16 miles of track and various stations and yards along the route, and for a time was actually electrified, making it an interurban line. Eventually the wires came down, so General Electric 44-tonners and Alco switchers moved the freight. A number of factors led to the railroad's demise, but it continued to operate about 1 mile of track within North Grafton to serve one customer, Washington Mills. This customer kept the railroad alive long enough for it to be sold in 2008. At that point, the new owner started to rebuild the rail line in its entirety and eventually restored the whole route to Milford by 2020. It then expanded and took over freight operations on a few miles of former New Haven track between Milford and Franklin in 2021. In addition to the tracks being restored, transload facilities have been built along the entire route to facilitate transferring freight from train to truck. They have also constructed an engine house to work on their own locomotives and rolling stock, as well as for contract work. This is a truly remarkable comeback not seen elsewhere, but I won't go on about it in this video. I have other videos on this railroad, and those are linked in the description, so check those out. Back to the 250 steam locomotive, it was recently moved here along with 2 cabooses from Edaville. While the future plans for it are not public, some speculate it is just for display, but maybe for operation. It would be great to see an operating steam locomotive on the restored railroad. These views of it were taken from a parking lot adjacent to the engine house the day of its arrival. Unfortunately, the cabooses were not visible from this vantage point. The railroad already rosters a currently out of service F7A, another former Maine Central Caboose, and a Pullman observation car as well. A former Ringling Brothers circus car is also on the property. Time will tell what will happen with the 250, but it is certainly exciting to see it back on live rail after so many years.